All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Chief.
Todd Minardi, I'm your police chief. We haven't met. What I thought I'd do today is just go over a budget presentation that I developed for our town. This is still kind of a little bit in draft mode, but this is the presentation I've worked on so far. So generally, it's coming towards budget season. I've already had my preliminary meetings with the town manager and her fiscal team, which is where this started from, but in late January, we go to the budget summit where the department heads present in front of the select board, the advisory finance committee. I've already had meetings with the capital planning committee. So it's that time of the year where the budget season starts for the whole town. So I thought I'd just run through some of the presentation, give you all an idea where the police department is. So I always like to start with the mission statement from the police department because it really is, we've developed this a few years back and it really speaks to how we operate as a police department. It says the Westboro Police Department strives to recruit and retain caring, compassionate, and competent police officers who are committed to serve, educate, and protect our community, to provide professional services that address specific needs, present educational programs to prevent and reduce crime, to ensure a safe environment for all, and guarantee everyone is treated with dignity and respect. So that really is the core values of the police department, and when we hire new people, we want to make sure that they fit into what our mission statement is. I did want to mention that the police department recently received a Department of Justice grant. It was the COPS hiring grant. It allows us to hire an additional police officer. We were approved to do that by the select board. And what it's going to allow us to do, improve and the continued implementation of a range of community-oriented policing strategies and programs. They aim to foster a strong relationship between the police department and our community, improving public safety and enhancing community engagement. So what it is a, So again, it's the COPS hiring grant, and what it is the Department of Justice pays up to 75% of the salary of the position. It's a 3-year position, so over the 3 years, the salary slowly progresses more onto the town side than onto the Department of Justice side. So at the completion of the 3 years, the town retains the position. On the 4th year, it would be completely funded by the town. So to talk about a little bit more about our budget, I always like to use this slide when I do budget presentations because it really speaks to a lot of how I view our budget process and the thought process that goes into it as we develop the budget every year. Obviously, we're concerned with taxes. We know that everyone's concerned with taxes. I go to town meeting, I hear from all the residents about the tax rate and how much things cost to live here. So we're always cognizant of the taxes. But when we talk about the police department's budget, we also have to look at the level of service we provide, right? Everyone has an expectation for the level of service. Why does this keep doing this? So we also have to think about officer safety. Right, if we're not fully staffed, or we're not properly trained, or we don't have proper equipment, we have to be concerned about the officer's safety as well. And generally, overall, when we talk about the police department, we're talking about the public safety, right? So we look at the police department's budget allocation. We're about 3% of the town's overall budget, just for the police department. So that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And it's really only about 3% of the town's overall budget. When you look at the police department's budget overall, it's about 92% salary and wages, and it's only about 8% expenses. So our expense budget is just a small part of what the overall budget really is. If you look at FY26 compared to FY27, you got the total FY26 number right here. $4,959,297. And then projected right now, FY '27, is going to be $5,191,177. Again, you look at salary and wages compared to expenses. And we still have a patrolman's contract that needs to be agreed to. So when we look at the proposed operating budget, again, it's $5,191,177. The police department represents approximately 3% of the town budget. We still need a collective bargaining agreement for the patrol officers that needs to be settled. Personnel costs are the largest portion of the budget at $4,766,000, and expenses are at $422,993. Pretty straightforward numbers. I do want to touch a little bit upon what we do to try to reduce some of the impacts. We've made some operational changes within the police department. We added the rank of corporals. We created a second patrol lieutenant. It's cut down on the need for supervisor overtime shifts. So when we look at supervisor overtime, in 2025 it was about 1,100 hours. We've reduced that in 2026 to about 160 hours. So that's a considerable savings. We also look at court time. We instituted a program where we have a court officer does all the show cause hearings. Previously, the officers did their own show cause hearings. So what that is you get charged with a crime where you're not arrested, but you get summons to court. You go to a hearing before the clerk magistrate. Those are called show cause hearings. So the officers will go to court on their own and do all their own show cause hearings. They're generally fairly short hearings, and the officers by contract get a minimum of 3 hours overtime. So what we did is we instituted a process now where the court officer goes and does all the show cause hearings, which has reduced court overtime from 600 hours to about 250. We've also reduced, the supervisors all got roll call comp time. They'd come in a little bit early to prepare for their shift, and they would get comp time every week for doing that. So we've reduced that when we, as an agreement to institute the rank of corporals. They've agreed to do away with that roll call comp time. So that went from about 200 hours a year to 0.
Chief, are those hearings typically at the district court?
Yeah, they go to the clerk's office at Westboro District Court. Mm-hmm. They can take 10, 15 minutes sometimes.
Sure.
So the officer goes there, they get a minimum of 3 hours of overtime, and they're really, you go into a 10-minute hearing.
Does it need to be a uniformed officer to do that role?
It needs to be a law enforcement officer, yeah, a sworn law enforcement officer. So we already have the detective lieutenant goes to court every day to file paperwork for maybe arrests or summonses that were served. So he's the one that goes when he's there, he handles all the show cause hearings.
Did the officers agree to it, or do they
Yes.
kind of like that?
No, they agreed to it. That was all part of the process to institute the new rank of corporals.
Okay.
The officers agreed to certain changes.
Good.
So to talk about some of the grants that we acquired, the municipal road safety grant was about $20,000 last year. That's the one where we do like 4 mobilizations a year. The officers go out and they write tickets. Distracted driving, driving under the influence, seatbelt use. They focus on a number of different areas depending on what the state is focused on. Bulletproof vest grant, a little under $17,000. That's what purchases all the vests for the officers. The town doesn't pay for those. That all gets reimbursed through the federal government and through the state. The Homeland Security grant, we were awarded about $95,000 to purchase a 3D crime scene scanner. It was something that was on our capital list in FY26 that we ended up taking off of FY27 because we got a grant approved through Regional Homeland Security to purchase that. The Justice Assistance Grant, the JAG Award, almost $35,000. That's another equipment award that we got. It helps outfit some of our cruisers with equipment. The cops hiring program, which I spoke about earlier, that's a $125,000 award. The jail diversion grant program's about $120,000 a year. That's what pays for our clinician that's embedded with us. She rides around in the cruiser and goes to all the mental health, substance abuse calls and things like that. So total, you're looking at a little over $400,000 just in grant money that we brought in. Some of the additional things that drive our budget. We had 13 step raises. Those are contractual raises throughout the year. When officers move up a step, they get a raise once a year until they get max. We had 2 educational pay increases. Again, that's all contractual. The supervisor's collective bargaining agreement, again, that was settled. We're still working on settling the patrol officers. There was a non-union wage adjustment that was looked at the town. And when we talk about expenses, we have to take into consideration inflation, right? Everything costs more money. So when you look at our line item for expenses, we have a lot of different things in there that just purchasing products, whether it's office supplies, vehicle supplies, tires have become a huge expense lately. Any of the maintenance on the vehicles has really increased. So we try to keep the expenses down as much as we can, but inflation is hurting us. So when we talk about, again, cutting expenses, this is a graph on overtime. The blue lines are our general overtime budget, which is what we fill like our patrol shifts with, and that's just the general overtime. Training overtime is this, I guess that's like a gray color. That's any of the time the officers are on training, whether they're going to a class or like we're doing firearms training today. A lot of the officers are in on overtime to do the firearms training. And the smaller line is our court overtime. And you'll see that over a 10-year period, overtime has been, this is what's budgeted, it's not necessarily what has been expended. This is what we've budgeted. So you'll see it hit its peak in 2022. We've reduced it over the last few years. I am asking for an increase this year, and the reason for that, big driver for that is, you see this line, it's our cumulative raise increase over that 10-year period. It's gone up over 21%. So as your pay goes up, obviously the overtime rate is higher. So to level fund the overtime, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, if you cut overtime. Well, I actually have cut overtime, but even by not raising it for these few years in here, that's actually cutting the overtime. I showed you a graph a little while ago about the reduction in supervisor overtime and some other overtime drivers. We actually have cut overtime, because even when it's level funded and people are getting cost of living raises, the overtime rate's not going up. I mean, their overtime rate's going up, but our overtime budget didn't go up. So every hour the officers work, it actually costs more money. So we overspent our overtime last year, so I am looking to increase it a little bit in FY27. You'll see the court overtime back in 2019 was budgeted at $20,000. I've reduced that to $10,000 in FY27. And part of that is the reason I talked about before about the court officer doing their own court hearings. Some of the drivers on expenses, our Axon contract, that's for our tasers and our body cameras. It's doubled this in FY27. It's a 5-year agreement. You'll actually see me going before the town meeting to get that 5-year contract approved, but it is funded through the budget. It's not a capital expense. It's gone up considerably. They're providing us with the newest, latest and greatest tasers and the latest and greatest body cameras, which I don't have a video for you today, but I hope to have one in the future. The body cameras actually do translation services. You can press it and the person speaks a different language, it will translate it into English for you. And then when the officer presses it and speaks in English, it will translate it back in whatever the language is that the other person was speaking. They can even recognize the language.
I think they did that in Star Trek. right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And like, even if you're not sure what the language is, I think it translates about 35 different languages. It'll even recognize what language the person's speaking if you're not sure. So the first time the officers used it, they were with a group of state police officers. They were helping them serve a warrant. And the person spoke, I think it might have been Russian. So the officer used his body camera to translate it, and all the state police officers were just sitting there like, what is that? That's like magic, right? So it's pretty cool stuff. And it's very, very useful, obviously. It's nothing more difficult than being on a call and trying to speak to someone that doesn't speak English, or, you know, whatever it is. It makes it very difficult, very, very dangerous as well. So. Some of the other drivers, you know, it's just, as I was saying earlier, costs have gone up, inflation's gone up, everything kind of costs more, office supplies, law enforcement equipment, vehicle maintenance, everything's becoming more expensive. I don't think anyone that goes to the grocery store knows that things are more expensive. Some of the major contractual services we have, again, Axon, right here, the 131, that again, that's like doubles from last year. Power DMS is our policy management system. It helps us with our accreditations process. Cybercom is our radio system. DTS is our detail tracking system that fills all of our details for us. And FirstNet is basically it's what we used to pay Verizon. We actually switched to FirstNet. We cut somewhere around probably $7,000 out of that item just by switching from Verizon. I've been talking about this since, well, 2018. My staffing projections, the staffing study that came out in early 2019 had us at about 44 police officers for last year. And this is strictly patrol officers is what they focused on. So I know it's a little confusing, but if you look here, we went from 29 to 30. That's the cops hiring grant. That's where we added the additional patrol officer. So we're still below staff. They kind of a national standard from the International Chiefs of Police Association. They want you to be around 600, 700 calls per officer. We're well above that. We're not getting slower, we're getting busier all the time. There's more developments coming to town, there's more businesses coming to town, there's more houses. So like our call volume only goes up. I have been in conversation with the town manager about doing an updated staffing study that kind of takes into account the entire department, not just patrol officers. Because again, we did create a new rank of corporals. There's 5 corporals in the department, and we did create an additional patrol lieutenant. Those weren't additional people that we hired. Those were just additional positions created within the staff we already had. So it's something we talk about all the time. We've made strides in our staffing, but we still have a little ways to go. This really just talks about, you know, where we're at with the 41 sworn officers. Was recommended that we be at 44. We understand that it's a priority. The big thing with not having enough staff is whether or not you're proactive versus reactive, right? We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive. The international standards are you spend about a third of your time doing administrative work when the officers are writing reports and doing other types of paperwork, if you will. You're supposed to spend a third of your time being reactive. That's when you're responding to the calls for service, the 911 calls, whatever, the alarm calls, whatever calls come in. The other third of your time is supposed to be spent being proactive, right? That's where we really start to reduce crime and really start to be seen in the public as being active, and that's where the traffic enforcement and all that stuff comes into play. Just a little bit about what we do to support the community. We participated in over 50 community events. We are here for the Veterans Breakfast every year, breakfast with the police, like today. We do lunch together with the students at some of the schools. We have the Safety Net program. It's basically a tracking program for people at risk, whether they have dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. They have a bracelet that they can wear that we can track the radio signal if they go missing. We do a townwide cleanup for Earth Day, and it's all about building trust through a visible presence and meaningful interactions, and that's where we really strive to do that every day. I hear all the time from people in the community that had an interaction with one of the officers, and they always talk about how professional they were, how polite they were, and it really speaks volumes to me about the type of staff that we hire.
The year 2027 budget for the Westboro Police Department highlights targeted investments in staffing, technology, and community-centered initiatives. This year, the department has identified cost-saving opportunities through internal process reviews and select operational adjustments. These efficiencies are designed to support responsible budgeting while maintaining full service capacity. A major highlight of the FY7 budget is the successful award of the DOJ COPS hiring grant. This grant provides critical funding to support the addition of new officers, helping the department meet increasing service demands and enhance coverage across shifts. It also offsets direct hiring costs, reducing the financial impact on the town's general fund. Officer recruitment and retention remain a central focus. The budget supports enhanced training, onboarding, and wellness initiatives to create a professional environment where officers can grow and serve effectively. These efforts aim to ensure continuity of service and a stable, committed workforce. Community engagement continues to be a core priority. FY7 funding supports public outreach programs, youth engagement activities, and expanded visibility efforts. These initiatives strengthen public trust and reinforce the department's role as a community partner. The budget also reflects ongoing collaboration with town departments. From shared emergency response coordination to public education campaigns, interdepartmental efforts are key to delivering efficient and responsive services across Westboro. Overall, the FY27 budget supports the department's mission to provide professional, accountable, and community-driven policing while maximizing the value of available resources.
That's it.
Chief, could you address the fact that in this town, most people think there's not much crime? And we just saw how many calls an officer gets.
Yeah.
A lot of calls.
I don't want to scare people. That's the last thing. I mean, I want people to feel safe. We are a safe community, but there is crime in town. There is crime in town. We have an enormous amount of calls related to our hotels. We have really 8 hotels if you count the Westboro Inn. We have 8 hotels in town. The ones up off of Route 9 require a lot of service from us. It's a population that comes into town, and whether they're here for business or something else, it's a big call volume driver for us. And when I talk about being proactive, that's one of the things I talk about where we're not as proactive as I would like to see us be. Focusing on some of the hotels, focusing on drug activity. Believe it or not, there are people that deal drugs in Westboro. There is human trafficking taking place, especially at our hotels. So there's definitely issues that we struggle to address as well as I think we should be. But it goes back to being, reactive versus proactive, and how many calls of service you have to, you have to answer the calls. When people call, you have to go. So we do have a safe community. I don't want people to feel like they're not safe. I think the officers on patrol do an excellent job being visible, and I think that is a big part of it. Generally, when we see over the history of my career anyways, I've experienced where say Shrewsbury starts having a rash of house breaks, you'll see how it starts to change. It'll go from Shrewsbury to Northborough, to Westborough, to Grafton, or motor vehicle breaks. It's the same thing. They'll target a community, and then you'll see them we'll start having them, and then maybe Grafton will start having them. And I've seen that somewhat over time, where I've seen these little crime sprees, if you will, taking place in another community, and we end up not experiencing it here, thankfully. And I think a lot of that has to do with the officers that are out on patrol being visible. Just the visibility is a deterrence sometimes. Traffic enforcement isn't just to make people slow down, it's also, that also is a deterrent, right? So if you're out committing crimes and you have stolen stuff in your car, you don't want to be getting stopped by the police in a traffic stop, right? So that visibility as well, like, you see the officers doing a lot of traffic enforcement. Again, that's proactive work, but it does more than just slow cars down. It can also act as a deterrent for crime. So, we used to have a traffic officer's position a few years back. With the amount of traffic-related complaints we get, we could easily have a full-time traffic unit with 2 or 3 officers that just went out and did traffic enforcement. We have an online portal for people that submit complaints. We address them as much as we possibly can. We get to all of them. It's a timeliness issue. Sometimes it takes a while to get to every single one, but we keep track of them all, and we try to address them as quickly as we can. Yeah.
Chief, somewhat controversial issue on a national level. Have there been any ICE events within the town, and how do you participate?
There have been a couple that I was aware of that we actually found out about them after the fact. I've said publicly, I even spoke at one of the select board meetings about the issue. ICE is a federal law enforcement organization. They have the authority to enforce the laws that they're enforcing. We're not going to do anything to impede their activity. If they asked us for assistance that was lawful for us to do, then we would assist them in a lawful manner. But we don't get involved with them. We don't report people to them. We don't, like I said, they actually came to town. I don't remember exactly when it was, but we didn't find out about it until after they were here. So it is controversial, but people have to understand that they are a federal law enforcement organization. It would be unlawful for the police department to impede them in their responsibilities. However, we also were not lawfully empowered to enforce immigration status laws. Those are federal laws, they're not state laws. And there's been court cases that have backed local police up on that.
You're saying you get a lot of calls at hotels. Are that, because you read the news nationwide and stuff, is that because of transients coming and going, or do they set up people living in hotels till they get housing?
So we dealt with the sheltering issue quite a bit. A few years back, they were using 2 or 3 of the hotels were pretty much full of sheltered individuals. The state opened up a full shelter down on Lyman Street, one of the old state buildings. They rehabbed it, and so we don't have any more sheltering going on at our hotels. But because of the location, it does attract people, that are up to no good,
Especially that trafficking is such a horrible.
Yeah, it is, but that's, it's been going on for a long time. The internet only helps proliferate it, really, So.
And does it tend to be more the extended stay hotels, or is it general?
I don't want to call out specific hotels.
Not a specific, but there are several extended
Yeah,
stay.
yeah, we've had our issues at pretty much all of them.
Okay.
Some of them are more than others, but Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity for people to, get out of Worcester or get out of Boston or Framingham, and they figure Westboro's just quiet, they can hide under the radar, what have you, but, yeah, I mean, our calls at the hotels run the gamut. I mean, could be domestic violence, could be drugs, could be just disturbances in general. Yeah. Right, everybody have a Merry Christmas? Yes?
Have any of our officers fired their weapon?
In the line of duty, not in the last few years. Yeah. So we did have a line of duty shooting. I don't remember exactly. It was 5-6 years ago, but not recently, thankfully. Yeah. Yeah.
Dog, you have a dog?
We have a canine. Yep.
Yeah, and what is the use of that, the canine?
So the canine, our dog is a tracking dog, so it'll track people. So we can use it to search for missing or lost individuals. We can use it to search for suspects that might have fled a crime. It can also find drugs and firearms, so we can use it to search for articles. And it's a great public relations tool too. Like Sergeant Paulsino brings it into the school and does demonstrations with it and everything else. I mean, everybody loves dogs, right? So.
Is it used a lot or not, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's a regional asset too. So the vehicle he drives was another grant, Homeland Security grant-funded vehicle that was purchased. So as part of that, the canine's available on a regional basis as well. So a lot of towns have canines, but a lot of them still don't. So you never know where they're going to get called. So, yeah. It's one of those things you don't use it maybe every day, but when you need it, it's a great asset to have, right? All right, well, thank you, everybody. I have to run off to another meeting, but thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. I guess we're getting a little bit of snow today.